The Monsters That Live Amongst Us, Hidden in Plain Sight, Part 3. I'll conclude this series by telling y'all why I believe healthcare attracts dark entities. People who want a front line at death, pain, and suffering. People who want to exert dominance and power over sick and helpless people. I had many jobs before I became a nurse, and none of them have compared to the level of deceit, betrayal, and predatory behavior that I've experienced in nursing. I was a cocktail server in the strip club and a bomb builder for the military. I also was a bartender, waitress, housekeeper. Any odd job I could find, I did, and nothing compares to my experience as a nurse. I'll pick up where I left off in part 2. It's my last semester of nursing school. I am an LPN transitioning to an RN. With that being, I have a night job at a nursing home. I also work pediatric home health on the weekends, 16-hour shifts. For my fellow healthcare workers who've worked in a nursing home, you know it's impossible. It's one nurse to 30 to 40 patients, maybe 2 CNAs. That being, you need to be there early to set up your card and get ready for your shift. You want to fill up your water pitchers, get your meds ready, and you'll have to count off the narcotics with the leaving nurse. The leaving nurse so happened to also be my classmate in nursing school. She's also an LPN and transitioning in the same program. For some reason, this girl has an agenda for me, but not just me, anybody. I noticed that there's this nurse that works there, a very beautiful lady, beautiful face, beautiful body, beautiful spirit, very kind and compassionate. And when I first started, at this point, I'm a new nurse, so I'm not completely understanding, but my classmate, we'll call her Kay. Kay is always trying to make this other nurse, this really pretty nurse, look incompetent, dumb, like she's a bad nurse, she doesn't know what she's doing. And I remember going home several times and asking my mom, like, hey, can you do this way? Does this make you incompetent, XYZ? Because my mom is a nurse also. And she would say, oh, no, that's fine. Oh, no, that's normal. So that let me know right off the rip, something is up with Kay. Because why are you trying to turn me against this nurse? Now, that was my first time experiencing this, but now I know as a nurse that nurses who are pretty, nurses who are happy, who are joyful, are almost always targeted and ganged up on and bullied. So this was just my first time experiencing it. I didn't understand. Needless to say, I'm getting ready to take a pediatric exam the next morning. It's one of those exams where if you fail it, you might fail the class. Okay, if some exams in nursing school are worth 10, 20% of your grade. So my thing was I come in and try to get my med pass done because I worked that night and on weekends. I would try to study a little bit on the clock. Okay, so I come in. Something is going on, Kanisha, when I hand off the keys to me. If you're a nurse, you know that you have to count the narcotics before you can hand off the keys. That means you have to pull out these big pill packets, actually count each pill, and make sure the documentation correlates with what you counted together. You cannot start your shift until you do that count and receive the keys or take the keys for that med card. Then you can start setting your card up for your shift. Kay just keeps finding reasons that she can't give me the keys. She's like, oh, I need to check on this. Oh, we need to go there. We need to do this. Oh, this patient might expire. I have to do this. She just drags it out. Mind you, to have a successful shift taking care of 40 patients, you need to start early. You need to get there early and start early. This is like an hour in. So at this point, I'm realizing my med pass is probably sabotaged. And this is probably going to be a difficult shift. So I tell Kay, I'm like, please, just give me the keys. Let me start my shift. At the rate we're going, I'm not going to have any time to study. We have this big exam tomorrow. Kay, again, does the smirk. And y'all, I don't know what it is about evil people in that smirk, but they have this smirk when they feel like they got you hemmed up. They can't, it's almost drooping to they can't hide their excitement for your demise. She gives me the keys and she leaves. We'll just say, my routine, I would usually get off work around 7 in the morning and I would sit in the parking lot, take me a little nap. I'd eat me a hash brown, drink some orange juice because in my mind, I'm a magical thinker. So I tell myself that so long as I drink the orange juice, my brain will work at 100% even if I haven't had any sleep. So one of my rituals was I would get off. I would go drink some orange juice, then I would go to class. So I go to class. Let's just say I was blessed and I passed the exam. When I come out of the exam room, because at this school, they actually would score your exam immediately because we took them on computers. So I come out the room and she's standing there waiting for me with this smirk on her face. And she's like, how'd you do? I was like, I did good. Thanks for asking. I go on with my day and I realize this girl was trying to sabotage me that night. I get to work the next night and my DON basically has a talk with me and tells me she knows about what happened. I'm like, oh, tell me what happened. Kay had told her that I didn't want to take care of my patients. I didn't want to do any work. I pretty much took this job so I could study at night for class, and that I aggressed her to get the keys to the car or something of that nature. I'm realizing at this point, this DON is not very bright. This girl goes around bad mouthing people, questioning people, making them look incompetent, and you haven't caught on to it. So I chunk the deuce and I go to work in my pediatric home health job pretty much full time, which is, my weekend job. Now, Kay is no longer with us, actually. She passed away. I don't know why she passed away or how. The only thing I know is it was told to me, rumored to me, that she did lose her license before she passed away because she somehow managed to let her partner work under her license. So when she was dating, she let them work under her nursing license and got caught. So she lost the license and then she passed away. Next story. I'm working in pediatric home health. I got a ventilator dependent baby. I'm at work and I just have a bad feeling about this baby. I know this baby. I've worked with him a lot and he doesn't look right to me. The baby's making strange facial expressions. He looks anxious. If you've ever seen an anxious baby, it's a look you don't forget. If you've ever seen a baby turn blue, it's a look you don't forget. I can troubleshoot a ventilator in my sleep. I'm going to toot my own horn there. I can hear where the leaks are. I can come up with 1,000, let's try this, let's try. The reason for that is because I worked with pediatric babies and you don't have a lot of time. You can't call RT, you can't call the doctor. It's just you and your baby. So you have to figure out how to troubleshoot the vent and you got to figure it out quick. This particular night, I troubleshooted the vent. Every trick I had in the book, everything I knew to do, I did. And the baby still didn't look right to me. The alarms were sounding. In this particular house, it was like the grandma, the mom, the dad, everybody lived in the same house together. Some suspicious things going on, but everybody lived there together. The grandma, however, was a nurse. So I'm telling her, hey, I would like to take the baby to the ER. I think we should send him to the ER. She's offended because she's a nurse, an LPN. She's been an LPN for like 30 years. And then here I am. I've been an LPN for a year. And I'm telling her, let's send the baby to the ER. She's saying the baby is fine. This is an equipment malfunction. They're going to come fix the equipment in a couple of days. Leave it alone. We go back and forth about this all night. I'm not rude. I'm not angry. I'm just concerned. I'm just strongly suggesting and advocating for my patient. I'm documenting because, as a nurse, we have to document legally what we did. So I have like 10 pages of notes this night. Intervention. Educated the patient, family member, educated the caregiver, suggested we go to the ER, suggested we, do this, troubleshoot at the ventilator, change the pulse ox, troubleshoot it, looked at the vent settings, checked the orders, verified the orders, reached out to, charted everything, did everything. I go, turn in my notes the next morning, and I remember telling them in the office, like, oh, I got so many notes. It was a long night. And they kind of laughed it off and was like, hey, I'm sure everything's fine. I come back the next weekend. This is a family who lives out in the country, so they never lock their doors. They always just told me, just walk in the house. And so I come in the house, and I'm like, hey, nobody answers. I go to the back of the house where the baby is. I look in his room. Baby's not there. Ventilator's not there. So I go back outside, and I call my agency, and I say, hey, I'm here at my family's house, and they're not here. Could you tell me their location so I can go to wherever they are? The agency puts me on hold, comes back to the phone, and they say, oh, yeah, they're in the hospital. I'm like, well, what happened? They said, well, the baby went to a routine doctor's visit and seemed to be in distress, had a respiratory virus. They ended up admitting him to the hospital. I said, okay, so y'all will let me know when he's out so I can come back. The agency said, no, they want you off the case. Fair enough. So my last semester of nursing school, picking up from part 2, the engine is burnt up in my car. The nursing school is deciding what to do with me because the doctor has requested I be removed from the program. My classmate has lied on me. Now I've quit that job. I went to work this job, and now I'm removed from the case. In my opinion, from ego, because I was right and grandma was wrong. And instead of saying, hey, I appreciate you for trying to take care of my grandbaby, she has me removed from the case. Now, I don't know what ended up happening to baby. I assume the baby survived and they found another nurse, but I don't know. So at this point, I'm just winging my last semester of nursing school on a prayer. Just like, God, please provide. Please provide the funds, the finances, the tests. Please touch these people hard. Let me stay in the program. And they did. I got to stay in the program. Some kind of way I made it financially. My aunt let me borrow her car to get through the last semester. Because if you're in nursing school, you know you got to be able to drive to clinicals. And if you don't live in a metropolitan city, then public transportation is like non-existent. So I graduate. I walk. I start my next job. This is where I met Danny, the one who went to prison for SAing kids. This is where I met the housekeeper, the one who went to prison for unaliving his girlfriend. I leave there again for being targeted by one of the physicians. I go get another job working in acute care. I let go from that job. They actually didn't give me a reason. They just let me go at 90 days. And around this time, there's a lot of stuff going on with the family. So I relocate. And I'm kind of telling this in chronological order to give you examples why I believe healthcare people are wicked. And just in general, why retribution is a lot of times, you know, when you're blessed, you don't have to lift a finger. You know, people get theirs, they get what they got coming. But there is a particular person who attempts to get my family member arrested on false charges. They actually did arrest him. They brought him in, ended up having to release him. But this person very much intended to have him in prison on false charges. Fast forward. I come in to take care of one of my patients. You know me, I'm neurospicy, so I set a schedule at the beginning of my shift. I look through the chart. I find out what the patient priorities are. For them, they said it was pain, so I set up a pain schedule for them. I'm looking at the meds and what the patient has going on. I'm like, I think it would be best if we take this at this time, this for breakthrough, this at this time. We'll do our position changes right after we give this. Long story short, the patient's pain is under control by around midnight. The family member comes out and talks to me and is telling me how much they appreciate me because they've never seen their pain under control like this. This particular patient had recurring glios, which if you don't know is a form of terminal brain cancer. This person was contracted in the fetal position, unable to move, screaming out in excruciating pain when I first got there. And anytime they were moved, they would scream out. As we and the family member get to talking because they're telling me how they appreciate me, we realize that we're from the same place. We're like, oh, because this is way far. This is not, you know. As we get to talking, and furthermore, I realized, oh snap, the person who was contracted in bed was the same person who attempted to get my family member imprisoned on false charges. And they passed away a couple of months later also. Next, let me tell you about a charge nurse I had. Charge nurse had this history of lying on the nurses she didn't like and getting them fired, or just harassing them and hazing them until they left. One of her tricks is that she would sabotage their patients. She would mess with their vent settings, mess with the patients, do things to them, and stage the nurses who had the patients to the point where they would look bad, get frustrated, fired, get accused of things. And I remember one specific night, she rammed a yonker down my patient's throat repeatedly until she actually caused some damage or harmed him. And then when the oncoming charge nurse came in and saw it, she told him I did it. This woman harassed me, her and her friends. And I remember one of her friends who was also a nurse who I used to have a lot of run-ins with, later got caught beating a patient, actually physically balling her fist up and beating a patient, was fired and removed from the position. As far as this charge nurse goes, I did end up leaving because I found a much better job. I ended up taking care of this young man later on down the line who I didn't know at the time. Couldn't find out it was her son, who was also on a ventilator. Ironically enough, she was my charge nurse in a facility where we specialized in vent weaning. And now here I am, and I remember how she used to sabotage my vent-dependent patients who could not advocate for themselves, just out of spite for me. And here I was about to take care of her son, who is now ventilator dependent. Young too, very young. You know, had an accident, you know, had a hard time getting him off the vent. And I remember leaning over his bed and looking at him and thinking to myself, I remember what your mom did to my patients, all my ventilated patients. And I'm looking at you here on this vent, and I have pity on you. I have sympathy for you. I have sympathy for the fact that this woman probably fragmented your soul in ways that you don't even comprehend yet. And that's how you ended up here on this vent to begin with. I said, I'm not going to do you the way she did my patients. You're my baby. I'm going to take good care of you because I can only imagine what it is to be raised by a person like her. As evil and conniving, as twisted and deceptive as her. There was this one particular office job. Thought it was my dream job. Got there, just felt bad from day one. Had a bad feeling. I used to go in when nobody was looking, and I would anoint the walls and pray over the place because I just felt off. Had a manager there who would just get very fidgety and start side-eyeing me like this. You know, it's just weird stuff. And I was like, either one of them is doing witchcraft, or there's some type of radiation in the building, or asbestos. There's something off about this place. And I made the decision to leave my dream job. After I left, I reached back out to check on one of the nurses who I really liked. I didn't feel like she needed to be there. I felt like the place was making her sick. And I may have played a part in her leaving, I don't know. But y'all know I have an advisor. I'll drop her information in the comment section if you want it. But I had been speaking to my advisor before I left that job to explore my options. And she walked me through like all my benefits, the 401k, insurance, just setting me up to make sure that everything that I wanted in that job, I was able to get for myself when I left. And one thing my advisor had mentioned to me is that, you know, after you work X amount of years, you're fully vested in a company with 401k match. So she said, look in your handbook. It'll either be probably 3 years or 5 years, but once you're vested, they'll match you at 100%. I passed this information along to my coworker because she had began getting really sick and stuff, and she was needing to relocate to be closer to family. And this facility was well, you know, capable of allowing her to work closer to family or work remotely or work from home, and they just wouldn't do it. And so I told her, like, you know, my advisor told me that you're vested, you know, and, you know, it looks like we're vested after 3 years. So you got plenty of money to just leave and heal and do what you need to do and go be with your family. And I don't know if I was a part of that, her rationale or not, but she did end up leaving, going and seeing an herbalist. She relocated and she's doing much better now. After I reached out to her to check on her and see how she was doing, I told her, like, hey, now that I'm gone, I'm feeling much better physically. I think there was either some bad spirit in that place or some radiation in the building or something, because I just didn't feel well while I was there, and I did all the praying I could do. And she sends me a screenshot showing that almost every person there has some form of autoimmune disorder, including cancer. And as a matter of fact, the woman whose position I had taken left because her cancer had gotten so severe. I was there to take the place of a woman who had developed severe cancer while working there. So almost every person that worked there had developed some form of sickness. Now, could it be because there was some type of spirits or bad juju there? Maybe. Could it be because there was some form of unknown radiation or chemical in the building making everybody sick? I don't know. But everybody had a different type of autoimmune disorder. So it's questionable. That being, I could tell these stories for days and days on end of things that y'all wouldn't believe. One of my friends calls nurses now dirty cops based on the stories that I've told them, where sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy or I'm in the twilight zone because I'll see a situation and then I'll hear about it, and what they say is nothing like what happened, but they'll retell the story in a way that justifies them abusing or ganging up on the person that they don't like when nothing happened. So imagine being in a room with two nurses and one of them just says, "Good morning, is there anything I can help you with?" And the other one says, "No, I'm okay, thanks." And then 5 minutes later, you hear a group of nurses saying the opposite happened. "Oh, she came in the room and got an attitude with me and tried to da-da-da my patient." And so, like, I've seen nurses would like tell these lies to justify harassing and bullying other nurses. It makes you feel like you're going crazy, because it's like, if a nurse dresses up, you don't like her. If a nurse wears makeup and fixes herself up, you don't like her. If a nurse does a good job and she's empathetic and caring, you don't like her. If a nurse does the right thing, you lie on her and y'all get together and try to get her fired. I remember getting fired the week of my birthday, not even 2 years ago, for absolutely no reason. 2 girls lied on me, their word against mine. I remember nurses talking about me. They didn't know that I could hear them because I had washed my patient's hair and braided it because I didn't want her to get matted up. She was on the ventilator and she had COVID. And, I didn't want her to, like, if she survived COVID, I didn't want her to cut her hair off. So I washed it and braided it up. And then I walked into the bathroom on the unit and they didn't know I was still there. And they were all talking about me. Who does she think she is? Oh, she's got time to braid patients' hair. Oh, she da-da-da-da. So my patient hit the call light while I was in the bathroom. And they wouldn't help her because, oh, she's got time to braid patients' hair. She can answer her own call light. I'll stop there. But this concludes part 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.